Hello, history hankers. Goeiedag, Dumela. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. I thought we'd just continue our journeys around the globe. And there's one question that has always baffled my mind. What is a miracle? How do you define a miracle? It's a difficult word to define, but in my opinion, it's a happy occurrence, inexplicable by any natural or logical laws, manifested by divine intervention for the betterment of mankind. I think that's the safest, or probably the more holistic definition of a miracle. Now, if you go through the ancient scriptures of the philosophical religions, of the divine religions, the Abrahamic faiths, miracles have happened. And in Abrahamic faith, it's firmly believed a prophet has to perform a miracle to stamp his prophethood, to prove to the people that he is the designated person from the God to bring to them the message of God, of monotheism, of societal laws, family laws, judicial laws, whatnot. So like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he split the moon with pointing his finger. He went to heavens and came back within a flash of second, transcending all time and space. The first human manifestation of theory of relativity. Prophet Abraham was thrown in fire by Nimrod, and that fire was turned into a bed of flour. Jesus raised the dead, gave eyesight to the blind, cured the leprosy, patience, and so forth. Today we're going to pursue a miracle that, in my opinion, is one of the most talked about, most fanciful, odd, amazing miracle in the history of the mankind. Done by Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, when he was taking the children of Israel from slavery, from Egypt to the Holy Land, and he came next to a water body, stranded with water body behind him and the chariots of the Pharaoh's army pursuing, inching closely every second. And then the sea split by the divine intervention and the children of Israelite crossed. Where did that miracle happen? Where is this place? And that's what we're going to find out today. Or we'll try and decipher it. There are many theories. There's much controversy. We'll try and see if you can find that place. Right now, I'll show you where I am. These are the wildernesses of Sinai. The very Sinai where Prophet Moses, along with the children of Israel, marched along to get to that water body. Look at the wilderness. I have my own research, I have my own views, I have my own faith and conviction about that place. And I'm going to try and see and try and explain to you through my research where I think actually that miracle happened. It's not far from here. I came from Johannesburg. I flew last night. I landed in Cairo at around 5:15 in the morning. I was picked up from the airport, and then, without any rest, I started my journey towards the place where I think the splitting of the sea happened. I probably drove about 2 hours, and I think it's another 2 hours away, and I'll show you who am I with. I'm with someone that I deeply regard as one of the most knowledgeable Egyptologists, and he's been with me once before. Daisy, people who have seen my vlogs would remember him, Mr. Osman Shauki.
Most welcome.
Osman Shauki is my favorite Egyptologist, and he's been with me once before to that land, and today he's going to guide me. We're going to get to that place where we think the miracle of the splitting of the sea happened. We just stopped for a coffee, and then we're going to continue our journey. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that guy, Eid was calling you, one guide in St. Catherine.
The government or the Egyptian army, then the Egyptian army would take some people, put in prison. So it's like a tribal.
But do you think really the Sinai was neglected by the previous governments?
Neglected since the peace treaty with Israel. I mean, they could have paid much attention to Sinai, having a lot of people coming right here to work in some of the factories, but it would take us much time because we have great projects. You see, building the new capital city has taken a lot of
But like
money.
the reason it was neglected after the Israel treaty was because Israel wanted this area to be not to develop.
Security and presidents were reluctant since Israel wanted security. The president Mubarak, for example, ruled Egypt for 30 years. He could have started this, but actually he died before even he had some promises, but he didn't accomplish his promises for Sinai. The new president had some promises, but he spent a lot of money on great projects. You can see the roads being actually built, the infrastructure even in the villages. The village where I live, actually, I went a month ago. They told me that the gas would be actually, the gas supply is very close to the house of the father, and sanitary drainage also. But this would take much time. Projects that could have been done in 30 years are to be done in a few years.
So I've been traveling for about 4 hours ever since left Cairo. And then, as you heard, Osman Shauki was telling me that Sinai is still not a very safe area. The people here are unhappy with the government, believing that the government hasn't done much for this region. And thus you see all these roads and infrastructure coming up, and the people believe with the proper infrastructure, roads, hotels, the tourism in this Sinai, which has been mentioned in Torah, in Quran, in Bible, the religious pilgrimage here would definitely pick up. I just stopped here in a small little Sinai village. Let me show you while we take a little leg stretching break. There it is. There's a mosque, a block of flat, On the right, that building, green and white, probably looks like a government office. A little supermarket where Mr. Usman has gone to buy himself a cold drink. And the Black Mountains of Sinai. We're about to enter the Holy Valley, but first we're going to go to the place where we think, or I think, the splitting of the sea happened. The miracle that we're pursuing today, performed by Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, with the will of God. I think we're about 80 kilometers from there. It's just that because of these roads, the traveling has been painfully slow, but we're going to get there.
I had to be on diet to diminish like 14 kilograms.
Yeah, you've lost a lot of weight from the last time I saw you.
Yes.
Which is good.
And this is good. I was too heavy on my knees.
Yeah, no, it is. Is that a baklava?
No, this is vermicelli.
Oh, vermicelli, yeah, I see.
Baklava is the flakes,
Yeah.
sugar.
Let's, as they say in Spanish, vamos. Let's go. It's hot, eh? For the first week of March. So I finally got where I wanted to be after about 6 hours journey from the Cairo airport. There's been about 8 or 9 checkposts because Sinai is a bit of a politically volatile area, and they're very sensitive about the security of the tourist. So there was a distance where we were escorted by a police car as well. Nevertheless, the reason I brought you here is to show you the city. First, have a look at the city. What you see in front of you is the city of Nuweiba. Now, city of Nuweiba is a small coastal city on the coast of the Red Sea. And there you see the Red Sea. The Red Sea has got 2 fingers. One is called the Gulf of Aqaba that you see here, and the other one is the Gulf of Suez, which is on the other way where you get the Suez Canal. And the reason I brought you here is to show you something. You see the mountains, the typical Sinai mountains, dark, volcanic, probably was underwater millions of years ago because you see the watermarks. There's Mr. Usman and Brother Mahmoud taking a break. And the reason I brought you here is because of this pillar right in front of you. Do you see that? I'm going to get too close to that pillar and I'll tell you the significance of this pillar. As I said in the beginning, that I want to show you the place where Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, split the Red Sea. Now there's been much controversy on this amazing miracle that is described in all the holy scriptures from the Abrahamic religion, in Quran, in Torah, in Bible, and everywhere. And a lot of research has been done by biblical scholars, scholars from Judaism, that where did actually Moses split the Red Sea? Now this pillar was found lying in the water. It was taken out of the water and was put here. And this pillar was erected by Prophet Solomon 400 years after the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea happened. And he put in this pillar to commemorate the exact spot where Moses split the Red Sea. when it was brought out of the water, it had inscriptions like Mizmir, which is the ancient name of Egypt. It says splitting of the sea, death, Moses, all those things inscribed on it. I'm going to get closer to this pillar. Sure, it's a bit of a rough place. So this place must have been the Gulf of Aqaba must have reached here. It's receded. There it is. And you see the mountains, and there you see the Aqaba city in the distance with my van, and there you can see the Red Sea. Now, obviously, as we know, the children of Israel left Egypt, and most of them lived in a biblical area called Goshen. Now, no one knows for sure where Goshen is, but it was probably somewhere in the lower Egypt. Then they went through the wilderness of the Sinai, and Pharaoh, Ramesses II, who allowed them first to leave, and then he regretted for somehow his decision, and then he started pursuing them, led by no one else but great Moses. They continued their journey towards the promised land, the land of present-day Palestine and Israel, till they got here. So, I'm going to show you around. It's probably through these mountain ranges that they came here, and there in front of you is the Red Sea, and we're going to get closer to that beach where actually the water receded, and then I'll show you more about that. And then obviously the great miracle. The children of Israel were complaining incessantly about how they are stuck, nowhere to go, with an army of Pharaoh chasing them, sea in front of them, chariots, 600 chariots or 800 chariots of the Pharaoh's army pursuing them. Moses stood by this pillar that I just showed you, and then, as it says in Quran, in chapter 26, verse 63, he said, as God says in Quran, we inspired Moses to put your staff in water, and the sea split, making a passage in the middle with two ends of the ocean rising like high mountains, so the children of Israel could pass through them. Now, coming from this area here, now how do we explain this journey? It's quite complex. So we have to get to my study back in Johannesburg for me to show you with maps and graphs the journey of children of Israel from Egypt, from the area Goshen, which was probably somewhere in Lower Egypt, and Mount Sinai, and then to this area where they got stuck between the ocean and the army of Pharaoh coming there right in front of you from that direction. So they were camped somewhere here, and the army of the Pharaoh was chasing them from this direction. Now let's get back to my study so I can explain to you the journey of the children of Israel, and then we're going to come back to Nuweiba and look at the pillar and then get to the Red Sea to show you exactly where the water parted. Hi. So what I needed to explain to you is the exodus of the children of Israel. So I've got a little map for you here that I need to explain to you. I want to focus on this area up here. This is Lower Egypt, and most people believe that the children of Israel left from this, which is the biblical Sukkot. So this is where the exodus started. And as you know that the Red Sea has got two tributaries, the Suez and the Aqaba. And I'll show you now. So this is the Suez Gulf, or the Suez finger, and this is the Aqaba finger. So coming from there, which I just showed you, starting their journey led by Moses, they continued here till they reached, this is NW's Nuweiba, where we are now, this arrow here. They reached Mount Sinai, where all the incidences of Torah and everything happened. Then they moved in here to Nuweiba, and then crossed the Red Sea, and then moved up towards the Holy Land. This is what you see here. I've written it here, Dead Sea. So this is the proposed trail of Exodus. Now some of you would ask, why didn't Moses go straight from there where they started their journey, where they have drawn the green line, all the way to the Holy Land? It's a very pertinent question. Why did he have to take such a long, tortuous route along the Red Sea, then crossing it, and then moving up to the Holy Land? Well, the answer is simple, as I've explained to you many times, that Moses had three phases of his life. First, for the first 40 years, he was a prince in Egypt. The next 40 years, he was a shepherd in Midian. In the last 40 years, he led this exodus. So Moses knew this area, the Egypt, and this area of Midian very well. He spent 80 years of his life in these areas. He knew that this area here, the border between the Holy Land and Egypt, is heavily fortified. There are a lot of military cavalries, military castles, post here. So he was obviously avoiding it. So he came into this direction to avoid the military post till he got here, and then the miracle of the Red Sea happened. He crossed the Red Sea, and then, as I showed you in the next thing, in the next slide, this is where the Red Sea split, and this is where we are now in November. He crossed over, and then this journey up into the Holy Land. I hope I've made it clear. Let's get back to. So now hopefully I've explained to you through the maps, the greater map of the Exodus. So now let's get back to Nuweiba. Right. So now you understand how the children of Israel got here. Now this is that pillar, and it's, as you can see, if I get closer to it, it's made of this red granite. And Usman, who is a world-renowned Egyptologist, tell me that this is itself a sign that it is a very ancient pillar. Now, as I said, Prophet Solomon, so 400 years after the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea, he put in these two pillars, one on the present-day Egyptian side, and one across there, where you see the water in the distance on the other side, which is present-day Saudi Arabia, the area of Midian. As I explained to you when I was in my study, that Midian was not under the jurisdiction of the Pharaoh. Right. So he was taking them out of the slavery. Not only the distance, the journey, the splitting of the Red Sea was not only a strategic liberation, it was a spiritual liberation of the children of Israel from slavery. So this was the final point. Beyond that, across this Aqaba finger of the Red Sea, was freedom. Was the land of Midian, and from there they could move on north towards what's present-day Jordan, and then to the Holy Land, Jerusalem. Let's get closer to the water so I can explain to you better. I've been surrounded by these how do you call it? Kids from Nabuan kids, whatever. They are everywhere. They're having a swim in the Red Sea, and they just saw me walking in with the camera, and they all got super excited. So now I was just trying to explain to you that Prophet Solomon erected 2 pillars to commemorate the exact spot where the parting of the Red Sea happened. One pillar we saw on the edge of the sea, and the other one I'll show you opposite. Now, opposite the silhouettes of the mountain that you see is present-day Saudi Arabia, and the area of that Saudi Arabia is Madain. Now, oh, so these kids are super excited. So these kids are super excited, and they probably don't see much tourists. It's pretty much like a rundown coastal town where not many tourists come in. So nevertheless, as I said, so he erected 2 pillars, one here and one on the other side, commemorating the exact path where the crossing of the Red Sea happened, the splitting of the Red Sea happened.
1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Now what you see opposite, as I explained to you, is present-day Saudi Arabia. The other pillar was there, apparently was found, but has disappeared. Intentionally, unintentionally, I cannot say. And from there, what you see, those mountains up there,
ازيك معلم الحمد لله
So the mountains you see opposite you is, as I said, is present-day Saudi Arabia, the area of Madain. And if you remember history, Moses' life of 120 years is actually split into 3 phases of 40 years each. For the first 40 years, he was the prince of Egypt. For the second 40 years, he was a shepherd in Madain, which we see opposite. In the last 40 years of his life, he led the migration, or one of the greatest migration of mankind, taking the children of Israel out of slavery towards their emancipation to the Holy Land. Now, that water that you see here, starting from here to that exact spot in a straight line to that mountain there, is believed to be the waters that gave way for the children of Israel to pass through. Isn't it remarkable? So first, as I explained in my study, the journey of the children of Israel from Goshen, somewhere lower Egypt, across the wilderness of the Sinai to Mount Sinai, and then from Mount Sinai, led by Moses, until they got here and they got trapped. And as you can see clearly, this water in front of you, and that is where the Pharaoh's army was coming from. And this is the beach where the children of Israel was stuck. Water at the back. The army of the Pharaohs coming from that side with 600 or 800 chariots. Now, how many people were there led by Moses? There's a lot of controversy. In the book of Exodus, in Old Testament, which describes the whole event of journey, it says 600,000 people. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of some great scholars who have interpreted, it's probably a case of misinterpretation. The most likely figure that people have come across is likely that Moses was leading out of Egypt into the Holy Land was around 6,000 people. And 6,000 people can easily be here. Anyways, and from here, right in front of you, the waters that gave way. As I said earlier, Quran, chapter 26, verse 63, we inspired Moses to strike the water with his staff, and the water parted, giving way, and the both sides of the water stood like mountains. In book of Exodus, a detailed description is given how Moses struck his staff with obviously God's will, and the water parted. Now the water here in this area, what you see is about 2,200 feet deep in the middle. So if it splits, obviously the two sides would be of the water, the two walls through which the passage was made would appear to be like mountains, 600 meters each. And the distance from here to what you see right in the front there is about 10.6 kilometers. Sorry, I beg your pardon, 10.6 miles, around roughly 17 kilometers. So this is the distance they covered. 6,000 people, men and women, led by no one else but Moses. And then obviously, as we know, the famous story, I think everybody from the Abrahamic faith knows the story very well. Seeing the passage, Pharaoh, the Ramesses II, tried to pursue Moses. Halfway, the water came back together, and he, along with his army, drowned in these waters. These very waters that you see behind me. Ramesses II, his body was taken out of the water and was buried somewhere. And that his burial place was not known till 1902, when his body was discovered from the Valley of Kings in Egypt. In 1960, his body was sent to France for some repair work, and where the French biologist did confirm that this specific person died of drowning. His body still lies in the National Museum in Cairo. And if you look at his body, it is one of the most well-preserved mummies I have ever seen in my life. He's got hair dyed with henna. His facial features, which has got a certain grimace of agony or anguish. And interestingly, his hands are not onto his chest. His hands are a bit away, as if a person is petrified before he drowns. Because again, in his Quran says, I shall preserve your body till the last day, so people can take lesson from it. Still lies there in the Egyptian National Museum. I have seen it. You're not allowed to make video there. But as I said, it's one of the most well-preserved mummy I've ever seen. Confirmed by the modern scientists, died of drowning. This miracle of splitting of the Red Sea that you see behind these waters has lived in the human memory ever since it happened. Solomon, King Solomon, Prophet Solomon erected those two pillars. The one we saw, the one on the Saudi side has disappeared, possibly lying somewhere, either on someone's personal collection or the government has made it disappear. I cannot comment, because that incident was, he wanted people to remember where did it happen. Such was the immenseness of this miracle that at the American independence, Benjamin Franklin wanted the picture of that splitting of the Red Sea with Moses standing on these shores, that very shores that you see, with staff in his hand, and the water splitting and the children of Israel passing through. He wanted it to be imprinted on the $1 bill. Somehow it didn't happen, but such is the magnanimity of this incident. Just feel the ambience of this place once again. I've given you the history, my research, through maps and graphs and historical references. And by all probability, many people, many scholars, or most scholars agree that this is in fact the place where the miracle happened. The famous miracle, Moses splitting the Red Sea. I'm kind of lost for words. I've been researching this topic for many, as I said, along, and I've been in touch with many scholars. And something also very interesting, Osman just told me, that from these very waters that you see behind me were discovered many wheels of the chariots, spears and swords, confirming that somewhere back in history, thousands of years ago, an army drowned here. For us, for me, I don't need any further proofs, any further research. For me, this is the place where the famous miracle happened. The ambience of this place has got a strange attraction to it. I don't feel like going. But since I'm in Sinai, I need to continue my exploration. Lots happened in Sinai. This is just one miracle. Many miracles happened here. And we're gonna go and try and decipher, visit those places, feel the ambience, try and bring it to you. As I always say in the end, it's my research, my journey, my exploration, my views. I'm not imposing it on anyone. Everything is possible. Don't feel like leaving, in fact. I wish I could stay here. A lonely stray dog. This was apparently, even in the time of pharaohs, it is said that this building was like an outpost, castle or military watch post. And then right in front of us, the waters that once gave way by the will of God, a miracle that has never been repeated. Let me try and put in my feet in these waters. This is the spot. These waters won't give way for a sinner like me. It flows like it flew, like it has flown millions of years before Moses, and will continue to flow till the last day. They just parted once. Let's get back to the van and head on to our exploration into the Sinai wilderness, Mount Sinai, St. Catherine's Monastery, and whatever else we find. Stay with me and let's enjoy the feel of this holy place together till we meet again soon in Sinai. Thanks for being with me. Goodbye. Assalam. Allah Hafiz. Hambagatle. Tutsis.